Tonight we got Shannon Sylvia, and she's from Pilgrim Studios. She's involved with La Holy Investigations. I think I said it right. Um, she purchased a house, a 125-year-old schoolhouse, and she found out it was haunted. And we'll talk about that. Um, uh, oh, I believe she's the inventor of the ghost hunting grid laser. And if I'm wrong about that, she can correct me. She's been involved with Ghost Hunters International, Paranormal State, a lot of reality shows from Sci-Fi, Andy, Discovery, Marvel. Should I name more? I don't know. Um, she invented the eye way. She'll explain that to you. She has a book out. She likes preserving artifacts. She has a metal detector she goes crazy with. And Shannon also, I gotta tell you, when I lived in Fresno as a little boy, I lived on Effie Street, and that house was haunted. All the entities were centered on me, and they even pushed me into a heater. But my story is very small compared to Shannon's because Shannon, for 21 years, dealt with poltergeist activity, and it was because of the King Philip's War. And Shannon, I'll start that off right now. Can you tell us what happened? 21 years and being tormented by a poltergeist?
Um, yeah, it was probably more like 18 years. I moved out of that home when I was 21. So from a very young age, there was all kinds of crazy things happening to myself, my brother, my mother, my father, but mostly me. Like you said, you had activities centered around yourself. I had a lot of activities centered around myself in my childhood home. So I grew up in Leominster, Massachusetts, which is only 30 miles from where I live now. And it's the location on Bel Air Heights was at the bottom of the hill. So
And the ghost froze Shannon up.
Shannon, you're
I'll
frozen.
be right back, guaranteed.
She's frozen in time.
Yeah. Shannon, you might have to get out of it and reboot it. Well, we're waiting for Shannon. Zandy, what have you been up to?
there you are.
Oh, there
There
we
she is.
go.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
I can start over. Thank God this is a pre-record. What happened, you guys?
Ghost in the Machine.
Okay.
Really.
I get it. All right, so I'll start over with you had just asked what happened with the King Philip's War, the whole story. So when I was a very young age, there was paranormal activity that started around myself, and my whole family was witness to it. I grew up in Leominster, Massachusetts. So on my street, it was the bottom of the hill. So the hill is Leggett Hill in Leominster / Sterling, Massachusetts. So the King Philip's War, a lot of it was centralized around this hill, Leggett Hill, a very, very steep hill that goes up. So you had the Indians on one side, the settlers on the bottom of the hill, or vice versa. And the hill was supposed to act as a shield towards a lot of the carnage of the war and whatever was fought, whatever not. There's a historian in Leominster that's still very familiar about how it all worked. But my house was supposedly buried, at least known to my parents. The house was not buried, but it was built on fill from an old church. But it's also located, again, in that same neighborhood where the King Philip's War was fought. So a lot of Native American artifacts around that area have been found in activity. But I don't know. I mean, as I got older and met people from the paranormal world after my story came out, a lot of people came out with facts that had nothing to do with the location of my house or its contents or what it was built on. So, you know, I'm very conflicted about that. And after I wrote the book, there was some information that was given to me. A lot of it really made sense as to why my house was haunted. And the reason for why it could have really been possibly haunted is because of my great grandfather, Frederick Sontag. He came from Germany, and he was actually, he made a career here in Massachusetts as an escape artist like Houdini. He would be shackled from here to here. He would escape from jails. And he also did tarot card readings, table tipping, and read from a crystal ball while wearing a turban in the late 1800s. And the photographs I have are just incredible. So he had, my family didn't tell me this until they knew I was an actual paranormal investigator, because it was kind of on the download. My super Catholic family didn't want to talk about this. And he had opened up some portals with his activity while he was alive. And so I didn't find out until about maybe 18 years ago or something like that, that he was coming through to a very, very, very talented medium. This is not someone that was just local to me. This was somebody who was super, super talented, that has proven herself to me. And he had disclosed that while he did some table tipping and seances, he had opened some, he invited some demons that were pretty significant. And he hadn't closed the portal. He didn't have a chance while he was alive. And so it was possibly a generational problem that did end up centering around me. So I will say, if that's the theory, if that's the working theory, shortly after I moved out, absolutely no paranormal activity, and never has been ever since that day. I've spoken to the new residents of the home. They say I'm absolutely crazy. I'm nuts. There's nothing paranormal there going on, which is obscene to me after everything I went through there. So interesting.
Yeah.
It never followed you?
I'm sorry?
It never followed you anywhere else?
Well, I thought so. As soon as I moved out of there, I did purchase a condominium penthouse in an old school building that was a functional school from the 1800s until 1989. And this day I moved in, there were people in the parking lot telling me how haunted the place was. And I was like, can I say shit? Because that's what I said to them in the parking lot. Shit. I just literally left a haunted house. And the lady, the old woman in the parking lot, was telling me everything she sees and hears. And from there, it was just like a water flow of 12 different residents in the building telling me how haunted the place was. And it did not take me long to find out how haunted this former schoolhouse was. Hence why it was on an episode of Paranormal State, which is a whole other coincidence on its own. And I was not elated to be around ghosts again, but I will tell you that it was a different feeling to be around these ghosts. It was no longer dreadful fear and anxiety. It was more of like a curiosity when things would happen. It was more of a lighter feeling. It was not a complete fear. It didn't feel dark to me like it did in my childhood home. It didn't feel, I don't know, if you guys have been exposed to ghosts, there's that deep down, complete, utter fear when you're feeling a spirit around you. And I didn't have those feelings anymore when I moved into the condo. It was just a different feeling, different vibe. But many years of experiences there too. I lived there for 21 years, just like I did my childhood home, 21 years. So yeah, coincidence until I sold the damn place. And the new owners tried to knock some money off of it because they heard it was haunted. And I was like, no way in hell in the closing you're getting any more money out of me. Just take it.
Escrow is closed. Escrow is over.
It was. And, you know, by law, you can't. I mean, they had to disclose in the building that there were deaths. Yes, there were. I knew some of the people that passed away in the building, but nobody was murdered. It's just a whole crazy scenario. It just kept haunting me like forever.
Oh my God. Now, Shannon, you're from Massachusetts, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so when I went to Boston, I investigated Salem, Massachusetts,
Yeah.
uh, the Church of no, the Temple of Satan. I did that. Um,
Oh, was it
back
haunted?
no, I didn't get anything. Um,
Yeah.
I investigated Harvard University on the slide,
Hmm.
um, Lizzie Borden House. Have you done those places?
Yeah, Brian Harnois and Donald LaCroix and I did the Lizzie Borden House. It was a charity event. There was a lot of people there that night. The walls are paper thin, so I didn't go there with high expectations of actually catching EVPs. I mean, you could hear people burp and fart from like a second floor. So it was a wash, but yeah, I've been there. It was nice to see the place. I mean, I know there was a murder there, but I've been to so many other places where there are murders and far worse things going on there. So, touristy stuff, but I've never heard about the hauntings at Parker University. Is that what it is you did?
Harvard.
Oh,
Harvard.
Harvard, my bad. Of course Harvard's haunted. Okay. How
Uh,
cool. How cool that you got in there. I've heard that the boathouse or something is some activity.
well, Chance the Rapper's manager was giving a speech over there. So we went over there and listened to the speech and then did a little sneaky investigation around there. So, yeah.
How cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, how cool. That's great.
Okay, now you're also too the inventor of the iWay. What is that?
Yeah, kind of thinking I have one right around here. So I'm sorry, there's probably one laying on the floor around here. Um, I like the Ouija board, and I know that the 70s, ever since The Exorcist came out, so many people have been tainted by bad movies, and that's exactly what put a bad taste in people's mouth about the Ouija board. There had never really been any complaints from the 1800s on until scary movies came out. I did a fantastic lecture at Halloween time at the Tewksbury Library, and it's somewhere online about Ouija board use. And I'm fascinated by it. My great grandfather did it for a living at Whalen Park in Lunenburg, Massachusetts, which is like one of the country's oldest amusement parks. And I'm not an avid Ouija board user. I have used them on events with permission from the owners of the venue, right time, right place kind of thing. So there were so many people I was encountering in my travels, not only home, but away, like, the Ouija board's fake. There's always someone pushing the Ouija board planchette. So, uh, you know, people are
Oh, it
skeptical.
measures the pressure of your finger.
Yeah, what it does, it's just a normal Ouija board planchette, but it has an actual device on it that can measure your finger pressure. So what everybody does is, my first time with it ever, after we built the prototype, I built it with Mitchell Silverstein, who's a brilliant scientist, and I took it to North Carolina, Asheville, North Carolina, and I made a Ouija board with a Sharpie and a tablecloth. That was it, because we didn't have an actual board. By the way, that works. And I asked people in the crowd, like, who doesn't believe in the Ouija board? A bunch of hands went up. So I picked 5 people. I had them sit down around the Ouija board planchette and my little faux Ouija board on the table. And I said, all right, everybody just lightly press your finger on the planchette, like literally don't even really touch it, just lightly, ever so lightly. So it gave me a reading on the scale, let's say of like 0.5. And we're going by ounces here. So everybody, 5 people touching at 0.5, let's 0.1 ounce per person, very, very light finger pressure. So I tared it, meaning I zeroed it out. That Ouija board planchette, after they began asking questions, was spelling letters out as if it was really active, to the amazement of the 5 skeptics. And it literally on a scale says 0 as it was moving around, meaning 0 finger pressure from all 5 participants. I can't even begin to describe the look on their faces. We have this all in video. Mysteries Magazine was present, as well as another good publication. I didn't even know they were there until they contacted me after. It was quite an achievement for my first time using the protocol. prototype, sorry, and it was successful. They were all blown away because they could see right there that nobody was faking it. I mean, the evidence is right in front of you. And we've used it time and time again. I have been in talks with a very famous scientist. I'm not going to name him yet until he involves me in his research. But there's a very famous near-death experience scientist that does Ouija board studies, and he had never heard of a device like this. So I have offered to send him one, and we'll see how it goes from there, because I don't have the money or the means to do huge scientific studies with this thing. I just threw it out there and it worked. But
did you get these devices patented?
Oh no, I don't have to patent it's thousands of dollars. So I mean, somebody could easily come along and duplicate it. I get that, and no one's done it yet in 10 years. It is what it is. I just wanted to do it for myself. It was kind of like the grid laser when I introduced it to the paranormal world. I did it for myself. I used it in a casemate in Philadelphia at Fort Mifflin. And then like the whole world wanted one of these lasers. It just kind of exploded. It wasn't anything I tried to do for profit, my own research only, and it just happened to be another one of those things. So the planchet's pretty cool. I mean, nobody else has come up with anything, even the board makers, all the game makers, nobody's come close to coming up with anything since.
You know what, Shannon? I want to say that's beautiful. That I'm thinking of it like music and people that rob, like musicians. And what I'm hearing is beautiful for you. I'm going to say this: you made that one thing, and everybody likes the shit, and it's good. And you're probably going to make many more things. So you gave them one freebie, and you could see who does well with you. Who comes back and shows you love. But after that, the next one, F them. You'll know what to do on the next one. And that's okay, because you probably have enough creativity to do that over and over. So it's nothing to you, I can tell,
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to dish out 5, 10, 15 grand for a patent. It's not worth it to me. It just isn't.
You can sell some rights. There is a way to, I had a friend who had something like that. You can, like when you don't have any money, there's a poor man, something where you could sell some rights to temporarily get something but I mean, even still, you're probably like me. Who wants to go through all that?
I don't. Yeah. I just exactly. And I hope you're right. I hope it goes further and people can twist it around and do great things with it. I have so many other things going on, but I just like doing things for myself. I don't like taking credit. When I came out with the ghost hunting grid laser, there were people from TAPS that started claiming that they brought the idea to the United States and they started using it. But here I had receipts. I had receipts that they purchased it off of me. It was like
that's how it always is. It amazes you that somebody would even do that, like perpetrate like that. But oh well.
Yeah, and
I got the receipts to prove it, and it's just hilarious to me. I get a good chuckle, and then I just sit back and like laugh all the way to the bank. Whatever.
Well, come on.
In our investigations, we actually use the ghost hunting grid laser here and there. Yeah.
Yeah, Paul loves that shit.
Yeah, and one time using it, you can actually see the entity shadow grid.
That's the greatest thing about that, is that it breaks the grid. If you were to shine one of these lasers on a human being, you would appear like a Dalmatian with green dots all over you. And the very first time I used this in Fort Mifflin, aimed all the way across the casemate, something broke the grid laser. So it was just all black passing through it. It was incredible. We all saw it. I mean, 20-something of us. I've seen this hundreds of times. And it's that easy. If you're in the right place at the right time, that's what you look for. A lot of people ask me, like, how do you know it's working? You'll see a break in the dots, and there's thousands of dots, but you'll see like something resembling a human shape walking through it. It's incredible. And how's that even possible? How does an entity absorb light like a black hole?
Yeah, and it only happened to us. It only happened to us one time. I mean, we used the grid laser several times, but only one time. And the person that was doing it, they were so excited. They go, Paul, get over here. To look now. And I just caught end of it, but it looked like a child walking across.
Crazy. It's crazy. I mean, now, how do you pronounce your name, X?
Zandine.
Zandine, just like it looks like. Okay. Now, are you an actual paranormal investigator?
I am. I'm known as Paranormal Soul Brother.
Okay. I'm learning.
If you look it up, yeah, it's like I'm like James Brown going Ghostbusting. I dance, I go in there. But you know what? The results are real. You know, I want to say something before I forgot. When you were talking about your grandfather,
Yeah.
and him opening the portals and connected to demons, I was gonna say when you mentioned that you felt calm about some of the experiences, you know that the Greeks and the Egyptians and the original rabbis used demons as good or bad. You know, they had them in their homes. A lot of people had them to summon, to do this or that. Have you ever thought about having your own one or summoning it, having a relationship with it?
Thought about it, yes. Done it, no. Yeah, I thought about it. I mean, I was raised extremely Catholic. My parents still go to church practically every day. I have thought about it, but I would have to get some serious counseling from someone I do know who's a demonologist before I would delve into that. I like my life the way it is now. I'm very happy. Everything's okay. Yeah. My husband's finally in good health, and I don't want that to change.
I hear that. I feel that.
If it's for personal gain, there's always a price to pay, and I do believe that. So I have not delved. Have you ever delved in that?
No, I study a lot about demons. I don't know why I'm fascinated by them, but good and bad is just I'm fascinated how many different pantheons there are, and what different people use them for. How they look at them, from Christianity to to Muslims to Persian.
All religions.
Yeah, and so.
I'm one of those people that thinks that every religion in the world focuses on the same God. It's just how it appears to them in a different name. You've got your God, you've got Allah, you've got your Buddha. I think it's all the same guy, and that's just how I think. And like demons are demons. Why would they be different anywhere else? But like King Solomon did that quite a bit.
Yes, definitely some demons. He used the cedar ring to control them. But there's the actual book on each one of them.
Oh, I own it.
Okay, all right, yeah, see? Yeah, I mean, a lot of people forgot about that. Humans worked alongside them.
Yeah, they did. And my favorite book in the world is Devils and Demonology, written by Katie Boyd. And that's the demonologist that I was talking about earlier. She's in New Hampshire. It is Katie's wife, Becca Boyd, who is one of the most talented psychics I've ever worked with in my life, and most accurate. It's crazy. And Katie, in Katie's book, it's like this thick, and it lists all their names, their ranks, everything you could possibly know about them. And it's just such a great book. It's kind of creepy, but I highly recommend it. And that would be the book that I referenced, but that would be my first phone call as to Katie and say, look, I might be thinking about doing this. And I kind of know the first thing she's going to say is like, bitch, don't. You know what I mean? Like, just don't.
You know what? No, Shannon, it's a trip on some of the stuff that's out there. Like, I mentioned this before, but I think you can follow me what I'm about to say. So like in The Exorcist, you remember how they used Pazuzu for the womb. Now that demon is not a Catholic demon. That's a Mesopotamian demon, but normally they would use that to counter or harm the spirit that is trying to harm the baby. So somebody would use him as a greater force. And so they had to know his invocation, his parents, everything he had to summon him. So I thought it was ironic. Nobody really noticed that they mixed it up like nobody would know, but they actually used, it wasn't a Catholic demon, at least by the classification, which leads, like what you said, a demon is a demon. And the rabbis said to Jesus, they said, hey, look, you use Beelzebub to go ahead and calm these other demons down. He said, no, I didn't. I did it my own. So they had a debate about that. And then what you said about the demons, if it's one God, no matter what you call him, even in the Bible itself, I believe it's in Matthew 58, like from 7 to 28. You could find in verses 7 to 28. He says, no matter what you call me, when I contacted Jacob, the ancients, your grandfathers, and before them, when they looked at the moon, the stars, or they saw birth, whatever the hell they saw, when they called it, whatever the hell they called it, it was me they were talking about. That's what he was telling them. So he actually acknowledged that, hey, whatever you called me by in ancient times or to now, so there was a reference to that.
You're very knowledgeable. I like that. There's not a lot of people that know their demons. Yeah, and I very much believe that. And I will tell you that when I delved into what could possibly be the reason for the haunting in my childhood home, the portal that was opened by my great-grandfather there was a demon summoned, and both Katie and Becca would not reveal the name to me other than it started with a B. They would not. They said just speaking the demon's name is dangerous enough. And I'm like, all right, like I kind of know a couple B demons. You know, and I felt the fear in that childhood home. One of the creepiest things, I actually missed school a couple of days because of this, is that nighttime when my mother forced me to live in the basement of the home, which is the worst thing you could do to me. Yeah, I mean, she had a baby and the baby needed to take over my room. So there goes Shannon downstairs. And, I grew up hearing footsteps from the downstairs coming upstairs all the time. So again, that was the worst thing you could do to me. But I would hear voices down there, and they would be speaking male and female voices, and they'd be speaking a different language. And it was like a chorus of voices, like a ton of them. And then the only thing I would understand is my name. And this one thing happened when I was in Wilmington, Delaware, at a haunted mansion. I was in a room. A couple weeks later, a couple called me from Baltimore saying, were you in this one room doing a ghost hunt, like asking EVPs? And I said, yeah. They said, you got to hear this. And it was the most incredible EVP I've ever heard. And I used it in my college lectures to scare the absolute living shit out of my audience. And the playback was men and women, a chorus of voices, except for it was English. I could understand every word. And they said, Shannon Sylvia, we don't want you here. And then you would hear inaudible and then something like, where is she? And then it was just like, oh my God. They literally said my first and last name, clear as day. We don't want you here. Like, so,
Let's go. Lecture over.
I've actually had EVPs like that.
Crazy.
Yeah, Paul, we don't want you here and stuff like that. Do you do cleansings for demonic homes?
No, I don't do cleansings.
Okay.
I am not qualified to be any part of shamanism or medium or anything like that. I'm just a self researcher, ghost hunter, skeptic. My dad is a chemist, and I was raised by science.
Yeah, Shannon.
So, yeah.
Some of the demonic cases that we do, I do a Roman Catholic house blessing, and I learned it from two priests that used to sit there, smoke cigarettes, and we used to talk.
I believe it.
I'm not ordained, and I would say about 80% of my cases where I do a cleansing are successful. And a person who has a demonic attachment, I give them a full submersion baptism.
Sure.
And when I started doing this, I was doubting myself. I said, well, will I be successful in doing this? And I started doing it, and I was. So I continued to do it. And I love it when they go, the client will say, are you ordained? No, not at all. But I'm good at what I do. Yeah.
Hey, if it's free of charge, it's kind of a bonus when they're there. I don't have anything bad to say about that. I had my own condo in Leominster that was haunted. The old schoolhouse was blessed by Keith and Sandra Johnson's numerous times. And they're not ordained, or they may be, but just made me feel a sense of peace, even though it didn't stop the activity. But you know what? I tell people all the time, just like you have the power, just you say stop. You say stop bothering me. You say you're allowed to be here with me. Just don't scare me anymore. I always tell people you're in control. And a lot of time that does work. And I don't mean to change the subject, but I found a picture of my great-grandfather. So this was my great-grandfather, Frederick Sontag. That's when he was younger. And he was a kind of like a local Houdini. He used to break out. He broke out of the Fitchburg, Massachusetts jail. And as he got older, this was him. He used a crystal ball and wore a turban and the whole getup. This was taken in the late 1800s. And this is probably one of the older ones, as he got older. So that crystal ball is in possession of my dad's first cousin in Florida, and they will not relinquish it to me, sadly.
But okay, let's see, Houdini was around what, in 1930s, or am I wrong about that? Phil, you're good on history.
This was, let me see what the date on that photo is. So it says Brindo, the famous mental telepathist. There's no date. I'm
wondering if he competed with Houdini.
Good question.
Oh.
It's a really good question as to what date that photo was. I'll have to ask my dad for more dates.
Harry Houdini died in 1926. He was born in 1874.
Imagine that. So yeah, he could have literally in the late 1800s, could have been around the same exact time.
Wow.
So he was pretty well versed in his stuff, you know, it was pretty cool. And the medium had actually told me during that same session when she told me that he had opened a portal, she said that he was actually very proud of me for sticking to my beliefs regardless of our Catholic family and for doing what I do. He was actually very, very proud of me. So that was kind of cool. I mean, I never got to meet the guy, obviously, but I would have loved to have if I was still, you know, if he was still here.
That is awesome. That is awesome.
It is. I mean, whose great grandparent was a psychic?
Yeah.
Okay, my printer's just printing something behind me.
Uh-oh. What'd you say, Phil?
Well, I want to know what's about to print out of that printer, but I was just wondering how extensively have you researched your grandfather's, or is it your great grandfather?
There's not much out there. So my husband must be renting a car. So he must have sent something from downstairs.
Oh my God.
Maybe it's a sign that you need to take a road trip.
No, it's a sign he does. I'm sorry. So that was nothing paranormal, but he sent something from the Wi-Fi to the printer. I've tried. Huh?
I said, damn, we wanted it to be.
I wanted it to be. I'm like, come on. It's printing his itinerary. So I have tried to research my great-grandfather. There's nothing out there. Ancestry.com obviously links me to him. There are pictures of him, like normal pictures in suit and a necktie and a hat that my family members have uploaded. But I can't find any link to him at Whalen Park, although I have a lot of local family and friends that remember him performing there. Whalen Park, I want to say, closed in maybe the early 90s. So
have you researched the spiritualism movement in the United States? Because I'm just wondering if you tried to look down that rabbit hole, if you might come across your great grandfather that way. I only say that because there's a small town about an hour from me here in Florida called Casadega, and it started off as a spiritualist camp. And
oh, wow.
That whole town is owned by spiritualists. You can't buy property there unless you're a member of that community. And so you can't be in that town after dark. There's only one hotel in the town. There's one restaurant in the town. There's a spiritualist / ghost museum with haunted objects. There's a gift shop. There's a room for meditation. There's a little spiritualist hall. You can talk to mediums all day long if you like. You have your choice of them and all that. But it's been around for over 100 years. And it's one of the last remnants of what was absolutely a huge movement in this country, around a little over 100 years ago. And Harry Houdini, most people know that he went out of his way to try to destroy that movement.
He did, sadly.
Yeah.
Now, what state is that town in?
This is Florida. Look up Casadega, Florida.
Yeah, I never heard of it, but I would love to be there.
Interesting road trip. I'll just give you something to look into with your great grandfather. You might, you never know. If somebody else wrote a book and came across it, I know, like the famous or infamous Sullivan sisters.
Yeah, right. I'm very familiar with them.
Yeah, you never know what you might come across if you actually just, instead of looking up just your grandfather, maybe dive into that movement or some of those communities that formed around the movement.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys ever come up with anything about Brindo, the famous mental telepathist, or Frederick Sontag, let me know too, because I'm like the queen of the internet. I graduated with an internet degree, but I can't find anything about him, sadly enough. But this kind of brings me back to my earlier conversation, like. In the spiritualist movement, how many times on record was there anything negative spoken about the Ouija board use? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. In fact, Pearl Curran, which one of you is familiar? Raise your hand. Pearl Curran, she was the famous author of several novels, but Pearl Curran didn't exist. She was a spirit communicating through somebody through a Ouija board.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
2 novels, whole complete award-winning novels, written by a spirit through a Ouija board. And that's kind of like my dream come true, is to come up with another novel.
Well, you know what? I'm fascinated by that because of Maria Ospik, who I always mention from the Vril Society, this model from Germany, because Hitler, that's where they got the research for the UFOs. She actually got them 12 prototypes before they had actually started making them for Hitler. But this lady, Maria Ospik, was the real deal. She was so real that they even, we asked guests about it, some really, I would say top-notch guests about it. And the thing I want to ask you is Meadow and Jackie. And I hear that you play the violin, and also that you taught yourself the violin. But tell us about Jackie and Meadow, the 2 dogs.
Unfortunately, that information is very outdated. It's not your fault. So they were our beloved purebred Jack Russells. They were wonderful. Meadow lived to 16 years. Jackie lived to about 11. Right now we have Maybelline and Tater.
Maybelline, okay.
Maybelline and Tater. Maybelline hailed from a rescue league in Tennessee, and Tater came from a rescue league in Texas. And they are our loves.
Wow.
They're our babies.
I had a Jack Russell named Pica.
Oh. As in the measurement, the pica?
My son named him Pica.
Cool.
Pikachu.
Oh, okay, all right.
and Pica died of cancer. So,
yeah,
that was sad. Dogs go. That's breaking. It's heartbreaking.
It's the worst.
Yeah.
And Jack Russells are very special. I really do believe, they're a very special breed, and I really want another one. Ours were very calm and loving and lap dogs. From day one, we just did nothing but smother them with love and cuddle with them. So all of our dogs are cuddle bugs. They're not crazy and hyper, and they don't jump around, and they're pretty good.
Are you sure they're Jack Russells?
Really? Yeah, they're great.
I have a Shih Tzu and a Chihuahua.
You like the Chis. I had a Jack Russell Chihuahua blend, and she was my life, and she died of a heart murmur at 7 years old. And that destroyed me. It took a few years off my life.
Oh my.
Yeah, and I mean it's too much. I mean, I'm scared. I have cats, but I'm just scared after you once you lose a few animals. The last dog I had, Gigi, she passed, and I still haven't recovered from that really.
Well,
Yeah.
it's hard to recover. Well, Zandine sent me a picture, not a picture, a video of a lion that was reunited with his owner from 10 years. They were separated for 10 years, and that lion just jumped on him. And
I've seen it. Yeah.
I started crying like a baby. And then Zandine confessed that he cried too. And
Yeah.
probably Phil cried, but he's not talking about it.
Yeah,
I mean,
losing a dog really sucks. I mean, if I had to make a list of pros and cons to owning a dog, the pros severely outweigh the cons. I mean, it sucks losing them, but you get to enjoy 7, 12, 18 years of love, unconditional love, and happiness with a dog. So I'm always the optimist, thinking that, you know what, we're gonna get another dog.
Oh, yeah.
So we do.
I got to ask you something. Okay. You're involved with Sci-Fi, A&E, Discovery, and Travel Channel. Are you like a producer or something?
No, I was actually a primary. So I was one of the 6 investigators on Ghost Hunters International, which is the spinoff of Ghost Hunters on Sci-Fi. So basically, Jason and Grant recruited me to be part of an international team, which I was one of the 6, and we went, oh gosh, to probably about 8 different countries. I was part of 7 different episodes, and it was a
cool.
wonderful. Yeah, it was very, very cool. I saw a lot of stuff.
International shit.
It was a lot of work.
Well, I met one of the guys from Ghost Hunters International at a UFO conference. I can't think of his name, but he was sort of stocky. Oh God, like blondish hair. I have to look it up. I'll look it up and give you the information. But
is it Paul Bradford?
Paul Bradford.
Okay, it's the only one I could really think of. Yeah, he's cool.
Yeah.
Was the energy different from okay? Because when you think about, we live in America and you think about haunted locations, I mean, it's all in one country, right?
Yeah.
So, going to international locations, did you notice any fluctuation or difference in energy design or difference in fear or difference in, like that type of shit?
Yeah, you know why? It was all because of light and dark. It was all lighting conditions. So a lot of the castles we went to a 1,000-year-old monastery in Italy. A lot of the places we went to had no electricity. The monastery, 1,000 years old, just there's no electricity there, nothing's lit up. So I will tell you that when you're in an unfamiliar place that you haven't even done a walkthrough, you don't do walkthroughs on these investigations. So the producer would be like, okay, you guys are going to go down there to the dormitory. And you're like, okay, where's the dormitory? You're shown where. And then, bam, you start investigating in complete darkness. So the one in Italy was 30,000 acres of rice plantation, rice fields, no electricity, no, light pollution from anywhere. So it is dark as F out there. And a lot of times you just can't even see your hand in front of your face. You can only tell when the cameras are on you because sometimes you get that glimpse of infrared. Like I said, it's a matter of lighting. And then, when you're in dark conditions all the time, it does make it a hell of a lot creepier.
Shannon.
Okay. I can feel it. I feel it. Damn.
Traveling to international places, like I investigated the bridge over River Kwai in Thailand, and Tower of London.
Wow, really?
Yeah. I've been to I was in the military 12 years, plus I've been to 59 countries. So I've visited a lot of places, and I was always gravitated towards haunted places. Mm-hmm. And like Bridge over River Kwai, that's where there was torture, there was brutality, there was murders and everything else. As soon as you walked in there, you had a feeling of dread. Tower of London, same thing, torture, murder.
Yeah.
You feel it. You feel the dread.
When I was in the castle in Romania, we were in the torture chambers, and too, I was just trying not to make it psychosomatic on myself. If they hadn't told us that was the torture room, if we didn't see what we saw, the devices that were still there, I wouldn't have thought of it any different than any other room. But that's just my experience. I tried not to let the history of certain areas bother me. But yeah, I mean, I believe that though. I do believe that though. I know that fear you're talking about, and I know that dread you're talking about. I felt that feeling, it's kind of weird, but I had to film for Travel Channel for a TV show called My Horror Story, and they put us up for a couple of days in a hotel in the financial district of New York City. And so when you looked out our window on God knows what floor, way up high, like 30-something floor, we were literally overlooking the tower that they constructed after 9/11. And I hadn't felt that feeling in a long time until I looked out that window and felt that dread, because all I could think about when I looked down, which was only once, was how so many souls had to make that jump down there. I just wish they hadn't put me there. We actually left a day early because of it, because I couldn't take it anymore. Just couldn't stay there.
And a lot of people don't even realize, like, certain places to go to are haunted. I mean, the Eiffel Tower. I've been to the Eiffel Tower. That's haunted because you had a lot of people who jumped off the Eiffel Tower and side. Yeah, and close underground you had the Paris catacombs.
Yeah, cool. So, I'd love to see that.
Yeah. I mean, it's like cool, but
yeah.
I worked with Penn and Teller, and they flew me down.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. They flew me down to Mexico. And I've worked with Ghost Adventures. God, I've been giving them so many cases. And I appeared on one of their episodes. But anyway, I did Penn and Teller. They flew me down to Mexico at the pyramids and stuff like that. We were getting EVPs right at the pyramids.
I wish I had brought my recorder back in '93 when I was out there. That's cool. Were you in Chichen Itza or by?
Yep.
Yeah, I've been there a couple of times. It's pretty freaking cool. I like to do some EVPs at the cenotes too, because that's where all the human sacrifices were. Yeah. But you can't get quite down there. We lost our other guest.
Yeah, we lost Sandine. Hopefully he'll rejoin us.
Yeah, it's very, very cool experiences for you. Yeah, I definitely wish I could have been in some of those locations you were.
Hey, also too, you like to use the metal detector. So what's the most interesting thing you found?
My own backyard. So I've been all over locally. I found just about everything, but I had a bucket list item. So one of the items was a crotal bell, which is a sleigh bell off of, literally a sleigh bell from horses. When the farmers had horses back in the day, they wore the bells. I have found several of them. In fact, some of them like 30, 40 miles away. I found one in my backyard by a certain company, and I found another bell from that same company in another state underground. And to a lot of people, that's a bucket list item. I had another bucket list item. So my girlfriend and I were metal detecting my own yard. So my house was built in 1886. It was an old farm, 26 acres here. And our barn housed draft horses. And we still have some of the original really large horseshoes left in the barn from the previous owners. And I find a lot of things in the yard. And my girlfriend, Laura, who taught me everything I need to know about metal detecting, she was over from Waltham, Mass. And she's digging over by my old apple tree. I'm by the pear trees. And I hear "Hey, Shannon!" I'm like, "What?" And she says, "What was one of those things you always wanted to get?" And I yelled it out. And she goes, "Well, I got it!" And she holds it up. The biggest skeleton key I've ever seen. I ran all the way a half acre across the yard, and I jumped into her arms, and I was hugging her. She pulled out the most amazing skeleton key, like this big. I see. There's your ice Skyler.
Thank you.
I thought the haunted furnace was going off on its own.
I'm yelling,
Huh?
Oh no. Before I forget, do you know Daryl Marston?
Daryl Marston, no. Does he know me?
Well, he used to be on the Ghost Hunter show.
He was probably on Ghost Hunters, but not Ghost Hunters International.
Oh, okay, because we have an
different show.
We're interviewing him on March 18th.
Yeah, it's a different show, different cast, different crew.
Okay.
We were the spinoff, so I didn't know a lot of people. I mean, of course, I met the primaries from Ghost Hunters International. Jason Grant, I met a couple of those guys, but and then I worked with Donna, Andy, Brian Harnois from the original Ghost Hunters. They came over to International, but not that person, unfortunately.
And we're interviewing Brian Kano.
Yeah.
On March 27th. You know Brian, right?
We're friends on Facebook. I believe my friend Melissa dated him for some time.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, I've never spoken to him personally. Maybe said happy birthday to him or something on Facebook, but no, I know of him. I know of his resume.
It's so funny is because the first thing I do when I schedule interviews is look at people's IMDb. I looked at shirts, and Phil over here, he actually did a documentary for PBS. So yeah. So he's a documentarian or whatever. And Zandine was on WKRP Cincinnati.
Is that a real thing? I thought that was just a TV show.
Yeah, no, I was on the TV show. Speaking of that, Michael T. Forrest Gump, Bubba Shrimp, he just texted me as we were talking because it's his birthday today. And we our birthdays are close, but his is March 4th, and he always says, I'm the only guy whose birthday is March 4th. Go forward.
Oh,
so we
that's
talk about
very
that.
cool.
Yeah.
I got a call once on my birthday from Tony Todd, the Candyman. And
okay. That's one of my favorites. My
husband and I had a podcast for many years, and Tony called in, and I cried. I was so happy to hear from him. And when he passed, I took that pretty hard.
Yeah. Oh no, that tripped me out too, because we've been watching him for years, and he always seems so healthy because he's like the big guy. You never really saw that coming, A
huge guy. Well, the first thing I ever said to him is how large his hands were. Look at the size of your hands. His fingers were so long. And I met him at a conference. We were both doing signings and I was such a fan of his. So I went up to him like, "Oh my God, I love you." Ah. And I said to him, your voice on Candyman was so mesmerizing. He goes, "Oh, yeah."
That shit was funny. He makes me laugh. All this he makes me laugh. The shit he talks to the guys like in his earlier when he was first coming up. He was just always funny to me. And that, like you said, that voice. But you could tell that being black, you could tell he's not a normal. He's not he took some kind of he had really good technique. People might have thought he's when you see him do it, you probably don't realize the dude seems like he's trained a lot.
Yeah.
Huge Patriots fan.
He was a huge Patriots fan, New England Patriots. You know that?
Oh, no, I didn't know that. Damn.
Yeah, he would talk to my husband Jeff about the Pats all the time. And I could have texted him on a dime's notice anytime, just checking on him. He'd be like, "I'm good, you good?" Yeah,
Damn, that's so cool, Tony.
I love when I meet my heroes from horror movies, and then they're cool as shit, and I love that. I mean, I try to be calm and composed and not try to show them about
you know what? I know what you mean. When I was doing sitcoms, you know, you go onto the lot, you go on the studio in Studio City. And the thing of it is there's different lots. There's Jerry Seinfeld right there. There's Evening Shade, Torkelson, whatever shows were going on at the time.
Yeah, one.
Huh?
I'm sorry.
So, oh, that's okay. So when you go into the cafeteria, you see stars like you've been seeing your whole life. You want to kind of say something, but you're at work with them, and you know you just don't want to bother them. But like Ruby D, Ozzie Davis, you know, they're sitting there right next to me talking. Or you see Glenn Turner, like just George Hamilton, the stars you've been seeing your whole life. But they're really nice. You know, people want to know what you're about. Yeah. And I remember when I saw George Hamilton, I came around this corner and I saw these badass shoes. And I was like, damn. And I looked and, you know, I remember that he used to go shopping with Emil DeMarco. So I was wondering if he got those shoes there, but I didn't ask him that. We talked about Love at First Bite. You know, I remember when he played that movie. And yeah, like, when you do episodes in LA, they give you the script on like a Tuesday, and then you get one Thursday, and you film it Friday in front of the camera in the morning, and then in the evening you do it in front of a live audience, and that live audience is all the actors from whoever's off from their show or friends. So you'll see people like it'll just blow your mind because they're all right there, you know. But
never knew that.
Yeah.
Never knew that. Pretty cool.
Yeah, it's crazy. Tawny Katanga, she would always be like, you know, she was really nice. She'd buy like a little poodle dog. She'd say, come see my new dog. She was going out with that pitcher from the California Angels at the time. Guy was like a 6'8" dude, threw a mean fastball. She was going out with him at the time. He would come by, you know, come on a lot and hang out.
Didn't Howard Stern love her? Wasn't she always on Howard Stern?
Yeah, you know, Tawny she was a live wire though. She was really cool though, but definitely live.
Hey, Shannon, tell us about your new book.
Okay. The book came out in 2018. It's called Paranormal Unwrapped. I think I have one here. So I was asked to be the co-author of a paranormal book by Katie Boyd, the same woman that wrote that amazing book about demons and devils and demonology. And the book contains a complete guide from A to Z about how to be a ghost hunter. Not only that, it goes into cryptozoology. It goes into bios of both Katie and my background, our backgrounds growing up in haunted houses. And it's quite an informative book. It's you can find it in any Barnes and Nobles, any bookstore. It's published by Schiffer Publishing. And I'm trying to see if I have one right here. Just to kind of show you. I wasn't prepared for that, but you can buy them anywhere. But if you want to get one directly from me, you can just reach out to me, either Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. I can sign the copy and ship it to you for only $20. And
is this your first book there, Shen?
Yeah, it was my first. I would be interested in going into another one at some point. And I think now that I have an in with Schiffer, it'd be easy. But I mean, not everybody's offered a book contract unless you're, I don't know, not an A-list or anything like that, but it was a pretty cool opportunity.
I used to do printed books, but now I'm doing ebooks.
I'm sorry, what?
I used to do printed books, but I've been doing ebooks lately.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's not easy for me to listen to an ebook on my phone. I've never listened to one. So my book, unfortunately, is not available by ebook. But, you know, having a publisher is pretty cool. But I usually get my every 4 months, I get a check, a commission check. Yeah. And we laugh. We have a good laugh as to how little you make.
I love that. Going to the mailbox and getting a little royalty check. It's like,
yeah.
You're addicted to it, Paul.
Oh, I know. Oh, there you go.
I know it's backwards. Sorry, guys. Paranormal Unwrapped by Shannon Sylvia, Katie Boyd, Schiffer Publishing. I was able to dedicate the book to my first cousin who was my age. She passed from MS, multiple sclerosis.
Wow.
And yeah, I mean, it's a great book if you're a beginner or you just want to learn about things.
Cool.
So,
Yeah, what I
Nice.
do, like with me, I every investigation that I do, I write an article about it. So right now I'm working for 3 paranormal magazines and 1 newspaper.
good for
So
you.
yeah. So I mean, it keeps me busy. I'm retired now. So
Yeah, no
anyway,
kidding.
so what I do is every article that I write, I do 1 article a week, goes into the next book. So I always have books coming out.
Good for you. Keep it
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
Keep it up. I do gotta
So
wrap it
Shannon-
up, guys. It is 10 o'clock here, my time. Time for bed.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you for being on the show. How can people
Thank you.
reach?
People can reach me. I'm Shannon Sylvia, Sylvia. You can go ahead and throw me a friend request on Facebook. I'm on Instagram as Shannon Sylvia. I barely check Twitter. You can check out shannonsylvia.com. If you ever want to shoot me an email, it's shannonsylvia@yahoo.com. shannonsylvia@yahoo.com. So easy enough. I answer lots of people's questions on a daily basis. So whoever needs to reach out, go ahead.
Hey.
Thank you,
And
Shannon.
thank you for having me.
Yeah, right on, Shannon. That was good stuff. Thank you. We really appreciate that. That was good.
Thank you, Shannon.
Thanks,
Got it.
guys. Have a good night. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey.